webinar. My name is Declan and I'm delighted to be joined by Christian Buckley, who will be talking to you about getting instant productivity out of Yammer. Remember to join in the conversation about today's webinar on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @EuropeanSP and our hashtag is ESPC15. After the webinar we will have questions. Type any questions you have for Christian in the question pane in the control panel. Some questions will be selected and answered at the end of the presentation. This webinar is being recorded and you will be notified by email when it is available. And now I'm going to pass over to our webinar presenter, Christian Buckley. Hello, Christian.
Hello, and good afternoon for you. Good early morning here.
Perfect.
Let's see if we get situated in the right presentation mode. Well, hello everybody, and let me switch this over very quickly. Is that showing up correctly, Declan?
That's showing now perfectly, Christian.
Okay, perfect. So first, I'll apologize. I'll occasionally cough. I have a little bit of the cold that's still going around. I think worldwide, people have been hit. But happy to be here to be talking about productivity inside of Yammer. It's interesting. I was thinking about this on the drive-in this morning about how cyclical we are with a lot of our technology. Of course, Yammer was on the rise just shortly before acquisition by Microsoft, and then there was a lot of emphasis around it after the acquisition, and people were trying to figure out where does Yammer fit with SharePoint capability. And so a lot has happened over the last couple of years as Microsoft has been kind of rolling out, both integrating into the Office 365 platform, but also clarifying some of the differences between strategies of social capabilities inside of SharePoint and inside of Yammer. And I'm not saying that all of the questions have been answered, and some of you may have questions about some of those differences. And while I'm not going to get into it today talking about the native social capabilities within SharePoint, I have a lot to say on the topic and other solutions around that if you'd like to ping me offline if you have specific questions. But just by way of introduction, so for those that don't know me, let me click to, now we can forward. There we go. So my name is Christian Buckley. I am a four-time MVP. I was a SharePoint MVP and switched my allegiance over to Office 365 at the beginning of this year officially. But I've been in the SharePoint space officially, I'd say, since 2005. But in the social realm, I've actually, back in the late 90s, well, let me go way back, mid-90s, I was actually on a beta team for AOL Instant Messenger. My college roommate joined America Online, invited me to play around shortly before ICQ acquisition with their instant messaging client. I was at a little company called Pacific Bell. It's kind of a joke because Pacific Bell was a massive telephone company. But anyway, for those that aren't familiar, we were building our own instant messaging client for our intranet and some of the solutions that we were providing for our customers. And I found my way. I started a startup, a software company in the late 90s. Where we found ourselves building our own instant messaging client and building HTML-based collaboration, social collaboration capability into a platform, which we went on to sell the company to Rational Software, and from there a couple other startups. And in 2005, got into the SharePoint space while a consultant joined Microsoft in 2006. And some of you may know me the last 5 years. I was at a couple of the largest SharePoint ISVs in the world, Exceller, and then part of the acquisition I joined Metalogix, and then 6 months ago joined GT Consult. And we are a consulting and managed services provider with offices in South Africa, 3 in South Africa, and I manage the Americas and run an office here in Bellevue, Washington. I know that's a lot. I just like to go through that. So a lot of people are, they kind of jump into Yammer, and unlike SharePoint, it's a fairly straightforward feature set. So getting up and running and knowing how to do the basics, pretty simple. However, as I mentioned at the beginning, you have this cyclical usage of technology. One of the difficulties that we have across collaboration technologies broadly is this end user adoption issue. And people say, well, we rolled this thing out. We had the training. We had the official launch. We told people how this fit in with their business processes. How it fit in with what we're trying to accomplish for the business, for the team, and yet usage just died off. Why is that? And for those that may be aware, there's some conversations happening over on LinkedIn, for example. Some of the same comments around SharePoint and Yammer and a lot of these technologies, and we're going to see this continually. Doesn't matter what platform you're on. Collaboration inherently needs to have an advocacy component. It needs to be part of your strategy. You need to constantly nurture and care for, and that needs to be part of your mindset. For those that might be familiar with W. Edwards Deming, who was the father of one of the fathers of total quality management and helped rebuild Japan after World War II, talked about this continual process of improvement as building that into your operational model. And maybe this sounds a little heavy-handed for, we're talking about Yammer here, but it goes with any collaboration platform that you need to constantly review and renew what's happening on the platform. So some of these hints and tips on being more productive inside Yammer fit into that idea. Is it strategic? What are the goals of the business? If it's strategic to your business to use Yammer and within 365 or even within SharePoint for these social capabilities, then you need to go through this constant renewal, this nurturing, this advocacy strategy. And I know that's another topic. I'm actually going to be running some workshops later this year, but so if you follow me on Twitter at Buckley Planet or drop me an email, I'm happy to provide those details when those classes are ready. But just as far as a background, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen some of these data points. I mean, Gartner came out with a study saying that over 75% of the Fortune 1000 companies will be looking into social networking. It is broadly accepted that end users want to have tools that allow them to more quickly and easily connect with each other, so with their peers, across teams, across the organization, with customers and partners. And so social tools are on the rise. But as part of that, they're also becoming ubiquitous across every enterprise application that you think of. So whether you're doing banking and there is a social tool that allows you in real time to chat with someone there at the bank, or you're looking to you're going into investments, there's ways to chat with people live using social capabilities. Or you go into your the leading ERP systems, or into your CRM, the customer relationship management platforms like Dynamics or Salesforce, and the social capability on those platforms is central to how you communicate as a team. Now, Avanade came up and did a study, and it was about a year and a half ago, and some interesting points that came out of it. But that people responded back, and you can see here, 66% said it made their jobs more enjoyable. So, of course, when you're able to find the people, find the information that you need instantly, you're going to be happier within your job. So, and also they reported that it made them more productive, helped them get their work done faster, and 82% of those businesses that were deploying these technologies, that they want to use them more in the future. And I think that what this doesn't show you, this is one of those things where a survey, depending on the limited number of questions, you always want to dig in and pivot on that data and ask follow-up questions. But of those 82%, they want to do more in the future. The question is, of those 82%, are they even using the full capacity that they have available? Are they aware? And that's one of the biggest issues. I'll go back to my earlier statement where we all understand the basic Yammer capabilities. Log in, jump in a conversation, join a group or two, upload a document. It's a similar experience with SharePoint. However, are we using the full capability? And that's really the point of today, to talk through some of those things. Now, what social using Yammer, I mean, it has a number of benefits, that allow you to build out community, to add context to data and to your conversations through tagging, by pulling people into conversations. It has that powerful search, and now the integration into Office 365. And I'm not going to get into all of the integrations there, but Yammer has a more and more important plays an important part in the ongoing innovation that's happening within Office 365. And if you're not yet within the Microsoft's cloud platform, what's happening is that Yammer is being extended so that you have an inline social experience across, whether it's you're working in Exchange, or you're editing a PowerPoint or an Excel spreadsheet there in the cloud, that you have the ability to have co-edit and have a conversation in Yammer appear in the right panel and have a conversation around the documents that you're sharing or collaborating on. So there's a lot of cool things that are happening. Of course, Microsoft is pushing most of its innovation into the cloud, but we're going to see a deeper and deeper integration of Yammer to the rest of the Office 365 suite. So how are businesses using Yammer to improve productivity? So I mentioned community building is critical. People want to affiliate with others of the same purpose, of the same goals, and so within an intranet, it's to collect together our teams, so all under the same manager, or within our larger organization, or a company-wide initiative. But also, I'm using Yammer to reach out to specific customers that I want to interact with. I have a site for our partners as well, to bring them in to talk about what we're doing as a company. So it's a quick and easy way to build that sense of community. It's also a way to share thought leadership. So there are a lot of public Yammer networks where you can go in and certainly find answers to your questions, but also share what you know. I think a lot of organizations, and now I'm a bit biased that I served for two of the largest SharePoint ISVs in the world. I was the chief evangelist for both Acceler and Metalogix. And so I'm huge into content marketing. I'm very pro the benefits of providing thought leadership. And it's this idea, it's kind of a pay it forward model where you're sharing your knowledge, you're sharing your expertise, you're sharing what you're learning, even though you may not always have all of the answers, but share what you know out with the community, and it may help other people. It may not instantly help you, but it helps the community. And businesses are starting to understand this. To have some degree of evangelism internally, what happens is people start to self-heal the issues that they have. They start to help each other, teach each other what they're learning, and it benefits the organization by providing this platform through which people can share their expertise. It also seeds innovation. And this is one of the things that always frustrated me about large companies. And I've worked in some some of the world's largest companies, Microsoft, Hewlett-Packard, Pacific Bell was not small. And a lot of times, you reach out to a certain role or to a certain team for ideas on solving a problem. And you would automatically, just by the act of reaching out to that segment, cut off those people which could have relevant backgrounds or experiences outside of that target group. So if you're only reaching out to the sales team to get an idea about sales, well, you could have people within marketing or in the product team that also worked in sales that may have insights that could help solve your issue. So seeding innovation by flattening, the communication to broadly broadcast your needs and allow input to come in from anywhere within the organization is important, so that you can pull from the best across the organization. There's I read a lot, and I don't know if anybody has read Malcolm Gladwell's book, Outliers. It is a fantastic read, but one of the things that he talks about is the number of world-class runners from Western Africa. Why is it that they just dominate the running scene worldwide? When they took over, they've just dominated it, and it's the few countries that are behind them are not even close to the speed, the time at which these folks are running, but also just the vast number of runners. And it's because you have a culture where everyone runs, because there's not a lot of other options for public transportation, and most people in that region don't own vehicles, and so they're running as part of their transportation. But what it does is you now have this huge net from which you go to cast to find your best runners. Whereas in the U.S., for example, how many people have the luxury of their time to just spend on developing their running speed and endurance? I mean, we have a lot of casual runners, but it just isn't the same culture, so you don't have as big of a net. So the larger net, then the more people that you can potentially reach and get that raw talent that's out there. It's the same idea between seeding innovation. Partner development, as I've mentioned, to go out and build an extranet, certainly on SharePoint, if you've ever done that, not a great experience, a lot of overhead, a lot to manage there, and so Yammer can be a very quick and easy way for short or long-term partner, collaboration. So it's a great solution for that. And the last one is customer enablement. So to have that high-touch interaction with your customers, and it could be your internal customers, so other employees within your company. If you're in a service role, for example, to be able to follow up and have discussions and share the results of what you are spreading out in the organization with the broader populace, so that key learnings are not just lost in interaction that's happening one-on-one through email, but that conversation is happening in a way where others can use it, learn from it. So I've come up with 10 tips for instant Yammer productivity. And by the way, I will push out the link to the slides. Of course, I'll provide Declan with a copy of the presentation, but I've got all my presentations out on slideshare.net. So you'll be able to go out and grab this. Feel free to download. I'm not particular about that, so feel free to use it or go back and just look at it online. And you can, again, you can see that link. I'll send it out as soon as I'm done here, but by following me on Twitter at BuckleyPlanet, or you can send me an email at cbuck@gtconsult.com. So the first one, this is key. Don't let questions or comments go unanswered. And I am going to show you some actual Yammer here, not just screenshots. But for this one, just want to make a point. And all I did last night is I went and grabbed this screenshot. This is a great community. If you're not a member of it, this is a public community called SPYAM. So if you just go to yammer.com/SPYAM and join this, it has thousands of SharePoint people out on there, and there's a lot of Yammer discussions happening as well. So Yammer 101 and Yammer training groups and those kinds of things. But I just, and not to pick on Simon, but here's somebody who in late January asked a couple questions that no one has responded to. And as you go, and to be honest, looking through a lot of SPM, the majority of comments that have been made, questions that have been asked, somebody has gone on and responded to those. But this is an important point. Nothing is going to kill Yammer usage quicker than people going and asking questions or posting things or commenting, and just it goes out to the echo chamber and no one responds. So this is where that advocacy, the nurturing, comes in place. Now, what works for most organizations and to stay productive is to have somebody who part of their job is to go in and nurture. Now, I was doing this for my last couple organizations, and I wasn't the only one. And it's happening for my current company, GT Consult. That there are a couple people that will go in, any questions asked. If I can answer it, I will. If I don't know, but I think I know, then I will get that other person involved. I'll somehow get somebody to come in and respond to this and keep that conversation going. So it could be that other people in the organization that might have this relevant information have not seen this post, because I know one of the complaints is that there's a lot of things that come in, the messages that come into Yammer, and so that's another issue in itself, but is how you organize your groups and kind of clean up conversations. I'll get to some of those productivity tips here in a few minutes. But making sure that people are not being left alone, that you are responsive. So it's just critical. Another one is tracking important conversations using bookmarks. This is a great example. I'm going to show you this. Hopefully this all looks right. I'm going to jump over. And if you can see my screen now over inside of SPEM, just as an example here, but if I go out to the all network to the top level, and this is, again, just a public community site, so you can see in real time the conversations that are going on. One of the complaints of Yammer is that, there's an important conversation and I lose it because other people come and post. The habit is to post to the all network instead of going over and posting to a specific group. And so I lose that important conversation. Well, one of the ways you can do this, and I'll just, I'll look at, say, this interaction with Nathan and Mark Anderson here, that is important to what I'm working on. I want to follow this. It's going into more and bookmarking the conversation. So that I'm not losing this. These are the things that I know that are important to me and I want to be able to track. Because the reality is, yes, there is search. I can go up here and I can look for anything Mark Anderson related. I can look at all the conversations that Mark is participating in and find that conversation that was relevant to me. Yes, I can go through that. But from the easier way to do that is, as you see something that's critical to your team, to your business, to your product, to your area, is going in and storing these things in your bookmarks so that you can track them, just see what's happening until it's the end of that process. And of course, at the end of that, if you're done, you just can go in and unbookmark the conversation so you're not cluttering your list of tabs. But think of it that way. You're putting a tab in a book that you're following along so that you can come back to that conversation. Again, you can reach that, you can find it through search or find it through the person if you remember the principles within the conversation. But bookmarks is one of the most efficient ways to do that. This will be awkward as I jump back and forth here. And it's going to change the view settings on me every time. That's unfortunate. All right. Third one is pulling people into a conversation. And I'm going to show you two. The fourth one is actually redirecting conversations within Share. So let me talk about this one first. Pulling people in conversation, then we'll go and do that. We'll mess with people's minds by just putting test conversations out there. But here where I can go and I'm actually pulling a person into, so here in this example, I'm actually doing number 4 where I'm sharing this conversation with another group. So maybe somebody, you can see in the top left, this conversation is happening at all networks. So somebody has blasted it out to everybody. They haven't been thoughtful and gone through and figured out which specific group is relevant. So here I am posting that content in a relevant group, but I'm also mentioning, 2 individuals, and I'm mentioning them to add them so that not only does the conversation now, it still lives in the all network where anyone can find it, but it's now been redirected and now will appear over within that group, as well as send a notification to Steve as well to Jeff to let them know that there's a conversation happening that's specific to. And the other to someone, like here I'm going to say, hey, Greg, specifically look at this item, so they'll get it within their inbox, and they can go and take a look at that conversation wherever it's happening. So I just want to show you here. And so it's something that I know that this is important, and I know that I want to post this over to one of the many groups that I'm a member of. It's part of the Collab Talk conference. Mark, and there's Mark, so I'm going to add him so he's notified. Keep me up to date on this conversation. And so this is kind of a generic thing. Mark's already in the conversation. He's going to be pinging me later this morning going, why are you sending them this message? Why don't you just bookmark it? Why don't you just follow it yourself? But I'm going to share that over. So let's now go over in the Collab Talk. So you actually see, so there it is. Showing up in the conversation. So there, Mark is linked. So he's notified that this has been moved over. He'll see the message. The conversation is there, so people can track it back. But we can also, from within context of this group now, I'm in the Collab Talk group, that people can go in and continue the conversation relevant to that. So hopefully that makes sense for folks. And I apologize, I'm not able to see questions as they're coming in live. And we'll try to handle them at the end, but I'd also say, Declan, feel free if there's something hot burning issue, you can jump in and let me know. But all right, so we have 3, we pull people in the conversation. 4, we've redirected conversations using share. 5 is using the announcements. Now I need to clarify on this one. To go and create an announcement requires that you are an admin, and this is something, it's the broadcast message. A lot of people, a lot of organizations really liked this feature, and it was a primary feature that they looked to deploy Yammer around to replace the network messages. And so, if you're familiar with any intranet, there's always that question of how do we get this broadcast message out to everybody. People have email filters, and we tend to become desensitized to the emails. But what's nice about this feature inside of Yammer, of these broadcast messages, is that they, one, appear at the top and they stay there until you look at it and close it down or take some action around it. But it can be controlled. The one other way that you can do this, you can have the announcement. You also have the network usage policy. So there are a couple different ways which you can make sure that everyone sees it. The difference between these two is that if you have an announcement, it's at the top, but I am still fully functional on everything else I want to do in Yammer. Every time I go to the top of the page, there's the announcement. And you get past the announcement by clicking on it. Let me show you an example of one live. Let me see. There's nothing there. I'm actually going to jump over to another network. So go into the Office 365 network. This is another one which I highly recommend that you go and join. It's the primary Yammer channel through which the Microsoft, the marketing and product teams communicate. So it used to be called the IT Pro Network. It's been broadened, so it's not just IT Pros, but relabeled as the Office 365 Network, but yammer.com/IT Pro Network. And so here you have an example of, so a lot of groups, a lot of activity here. I believe they just surpassed 50,000 users on this network. But here's the announcement up on top. I'm going to read more. So I've clicked on it. Yeah. I can mark it as unread. I can, or it's been read. I will scroll down through it, see if there's anything else. There's already conversation that's happening at the bottom, the link to a video. It's a great video, by the way. But I'm going to, I don't need to see this anymore, so I'm going to stop following it in the inbox, go back up to the top level, back to home. You can see the announcement disappears. And the point that I was going to make, let me jump back to the presentation. The point I was going to make here is that network usage policy, some organizations use this to also do some broadcast messages. And the benefit of that is that when I log back, I've logged out of Yammer, the next time I log back in, anytime I make a change to the network usage policy, I can force it to be that initial screen people see, and they have to acknowledge it to close it and move on. And so they'll use that for that purpose. It's not really the intended usage of that, but it is a great way to ensure that everyone sees it and acknowledges that, and then you can change back, remove the broadcast message after a time, and of course also see who has not been logging in. That's another important thing. Another one is the polling feature. Very easy, quick and easy to use. And I did this kind of funny one. We have this joke group called Nobody Cares. And so I went and created this poll, and it really is as simple as clicking on a few things. I'm going to go back over to my home network, GT Consult. I'll go down into Nobody Cares so you can see this. Doesn't look like anybody's voted yet. I'm voting for fuchsia pants that Craig will be wearing today. There's my vote. It's been counted. This is just other fun stuff. So things that nobody cares about. Paul got a parking ticket. Craig has pneumonia. I didn't care. So we're good friends. We just like to poke fun a bit. But it really is as simple. You've got the poll feature at the top, and you can do this at any level, any group within that. So if you just need a snap poll feedback, hey, to my team, what do you want to have for lunch today? I'm bringing in lunch. Let's vote on that. Or I'll just go in, create a poll, ask your question. Where should we hold our team offsite this week? Park, pizza place, my house, whatever. Post that. That's it. People go in immediately, start participating, see the data that comes through. So it's a great, quick, and easy way for you to get feedback. And I've seen use cases of people using this for feature feedback, for problem resolution, for getting as I said, ideas for training, for getting quick feedback on just about any topic. It's just very useful. And this is just going to, let's see, I'm going to, well, actually, I'll leave that up. I like to harass my team with things once in a while. All right, let me jump back in presentation mode, switch the display settings. There we go. So using polling can be very powerful, and I've started to do this across some of the public networks, like in the user group, to get feedback on some of the topics and get quotes and start conversation. I write a lot of content, so for me, I love having quotes from people. It's not just my opinion, but hear from others within the community, especially the user group or within my company, and to add that commentary, that narrative to the content that I'm writing. Recognizing someone, very important. This is something I think is very underused within most organizations. If you're looking for ways, this incorporates some of these gamification techniques, where if you're looking for ways to inspire people to be on the platform and doing more, then using this capability is is a quick and easy way to do that. So let me just jump over. So I can go in and click on the praise. So what am I praising them for? Thumbs up, gold star, an award, money, just a number of things. So I'm going to go in here and what are you praising them for? Let's see. Oh, actually, typo there. I forgot, it's Paul's birthday today. So let's, do we have a icon that makes sense there? Let's do the rainbows and post that. But this is something that there are in some of the analytics. I'm not going to get into the analytics side, but you can go in and start tracking, especially if you come up with a standard and say, well, we have these peer-to-peer recognitions called, you could use the gold star, for example. And every time you recognize somebody going, over and above what their duties are, and they help you, and it can be in a small way, it can be in a major way, but encourage people to give that recognition. Then what happens is you build a culture where people are looking for the best in what each other do. And you can actually go and start pulling those metrics together. I know that when I was at Microsoft, for example, I would rely heavily on the peer feedback for we had these spot bonuses that we'd give out, these gold star awards. And for a number of the awards that I gave out, it wasn't just through the things that I saw, but people would come forward and say, just wanted to let you know that such and such did this. It was just a fantastic job. Really appreciated it. Had a huge impact on the team, and that kind of feedback is important. So the more that you can get people to be sharing in that way, sharing their experiences, then the more activity that you're going to see within the platform. And if people are engaged in the platform, there's two measurements of collaboration that I think have come to the forefront over the last couple of years, which are adoption and engagement. Well, adoption, by most the way most organizations measure it, is simply have they logged in? Are they present? However, engagement is what are they doing once they're there? How engaged are they? So you don't want somebody that is like SharePoint. The problem is people will go in, upload their documents, and get back out. Versus those that are engaged are in there, they're reviewing what's latest, they're reviewing what's happening within their team, within their peer group, with their management chain, and they're commenting on that. They're looking for context and relevance in the things that others are doing. And again, it goes back to that advocacy, that need to not just stay within the shell of your tasks, your workloads, but knowing that you're paying it forward by providing value and help and commentary to what others are doing that may benefit them by your participation. Jump back. So recognizing someone. Number 8, creating external networks. So I talked about this, about going and for partners and customers, and it's really pretty straightforward. So of course, if you are on a free version of Yammer, it's a great way to play with the technology and try it, but you're missing a few things, and the key one is the administrative capability and the ability to go out and create external networks. So just to jump back over, and there we go, get to the right place. For example, so I'm on my home network, so the GT Consult network. I'm going to go out and I'm going to create a group. So I have the ability to go in and create another internal group, and it can be public, meaning anyone can see it. It can be private, so that I can say only certain people can appear there, and yet others that might, I might create a group for a project that is being run out of the Bellevue office. But I might want that private group to still remain in the directory so that people can find it and ask to be invited. Other conversations, and it might be like the leadership of the teams leadership of the organization, the 4 principles, where we create a private group that is kind of off the board, so the rest of the employees can't see it, where the 4 of us can go through and have detailed conversations, track it within Yammer, but keep it very private. The other thing that you can do is create these external networks. So I mentioned, for customer groups or for partner organizations, and so I can go and create something. Like we have a partnership with a company called Serendipity that does an automated metadata tagging technology, for example. So we are the North American distributors of this. We have a very strong relationship with them. So I might want to create a specific network where the GT Consult team can collaborate with the Serendipity team and GT Consult, of course, spelling, and Serendipity. So I want to keep it open so that anybody that's in the network can invite others. Here I can lock it down, but I can have GT Consult members join without an invite, go and create that external network. I could have gone and added an image to this. So here I've created this brand new network, clean. I'm the administrator for it automatically. I can now go in and start inviting people to it. And just as I go to invite new members, so I go to our CEO. Let's import from the address book. You can go in and, let's see. And this is via email, actually. So it's just as simple as Brad at GT Consult. I'm going to add him. I can go in and invite anybody else. So here I'm going to send an invite to myself, just as an example. What's great about Yammer as well is that unlike in SharePoint or Office 365, where I can go and invite anybody, it's just as simple as an email. So if I am the admin and I've created this designated space for this collaboration, all I need is an email to invite somebody. The security level there is me knowing who I'm inviting. If you want to keep certain people out, don't invite them, and lock it down so others cannot go and invite anyone else, so that only you as the administrator can invite people into this. Now this is going to confuse Brad that I've created this, so I will go back in and delete this, but just wanted to show you how quick and easy that is to go and create that. I can create groups around customers, for example. I can invite the Serendipity team in. We can start having collaboration, so I can work with this partner if we have technical issues, if we have marketing ideas, all of those things, very quick and easy that I can get them involved and have that conversation. Number 9, hosting a Yam Jam. I'm not going to show you an example here, but some of you may be familiar that I run a monthly tweet jam, so it's out on Twitter. And the idea is that anybody anywhere in the world can participate in the conversation. And to participate, you just need to include the hashtag of, in that case, collab talk. A similar experience is internally. So here's a great example in the image here. So this is a real-life example with my last company, Metalogics, where we had a sales summit. So we had about 100 people from different parts of the world flew into Washington, D.C. to have this multi-day sales event. As we're sitting in this massive room listening to speakers, one of the ideas that I had was to capture some of the questions and the conversations by doing a Yam Jam live during this summit. So we started using the hashtag of summit, as you can see highlighted, and inside of Yammer. And so what's great about this is that all of the questions, all of the comments, as people were presenting and said, oh, my files are out on my OneDrive, or they're out in SharePoint if you go to this location, I would sit there in real time, go and grab the link to where that content was, put it into Yammer, hashtag summit, publish it so everyone in the company could see it instantly, get a link to those things, as well as capturing pictures and other things around that. So it helped with the team building activities. It helped to document So I was having a conversation with one of the sales engineers a year later, so I had left the company, but they're doing the sales summit, is people were going in and using the same hashtag, but they were always also going back and searching on some of the notes and some of the conversations from the previous summit. So that's one of the values of Yammers, that you're not losing the content. How you uncover that and successfully is, you can go and rely on search. You can build those groups, but is still, hashtags or metadata tagging is still relevant in helping refine those search results. And so the Yam Jam, whether you're sitting in a 5-person meeting, a weekly team meeting, going through project data, or you're in a large enterprise that is doing a larger event, it's still relevant to follow this model. Of course, Microsoft, you see, they're running Yam Jams all the time that are just out in like the Office 365 network, the open network, where they're using a specific Yam Jam hashtag relevant to the event. Like there was a hashtag MS Ignite talking about the event that's coming up in May. And it's just a great way to capture knowledge and get people involved. And the last one is embedding your groups in SharePoint. And so this, some of you probably saw the communication out that Microsoft was ending support for in SharePoint 2010 on-prem, the Yammer web part, and in 2013 the Yammer app. However, the method, the ability to link your Yammer conversations and embed them over in SharePoint remains. Now, there are some side effects to that. I'm not going to get into the detail of this. It's a little more involved. But to embed a conversation within SharePoint is fairly simple. It's just a matter of having the right access over inside of SharePoint, and so anywhere on a page where it's relevant, like on a team site, as you open up and edit the page, you have the ability to insert HTML, and so you can format that. There's actually some tools. I'll have to link it. I neglected to add the link to this tool in this presentation. I'll add it before I publish it, but is a add embed link. I'm taking a note here so I remember to do it. But it's a great tool that helps you pre-format the code of the embed link before you add it into SharePoint, so that if you don't know HTML, if you don't know how to go in and set the height and the width, and you want to shape what the embed link looks like, there's a little free tool that's online that you essentially take your embed code, add it, and then for the group, and then you cut and paste that code into SharePoint. But here's how you do this. So we're in. This is the Puget Sound or the SharePoint, the Seattle area SharePoint user group site. For example, actually no, this is still GT. Sorry, my apologies. So anyway, so there's this group. We're in the GT Roadshow 2015, and I want to take this entire group of conversations, and you just go down to the embed this group in your site here at the bottom right corner. And you click on that, and what happens immediately is the embed this feed in your site pops up. Now, for those that have ever gone in, if you blog or if you do any kind of HTML, you'll notice this, that just about every socially functional website that has sharing enabled has this kind of capability. Like, for example, I'm constantly embedding a slide share or a YouTube video or something within my blog, and it follows the same pattern. You just copy this code. If you know HTML, you can go in and you can modify some of the factors, and then go over to that edit mode inside of SharePoint, paste it, save it, and refresh the page, and there you have your ongoing Yammer conversation for this group over inside of SharePoint. So if you're looking for ways of linking the two, linking SharePoint usage with your Yammer usage, then that's a powerful way to do that. And essentially works like an RSS feed. It's not bogging down the system with another app. It's not a heavy load on the system. It's just drawing from the feed of that group conversation. So the overall goal of these 10 things, and of social in general, is to reach business goals. They're fun, they're lightweight. I know we think of a lot of the social capabilities as being more of a, like we think of Facebook as being this social platform where we're highly engaged. A lot of people look at that Facebook model and say, yeah, what a huge waste of time. Where social is successful is where you have aligned it with your business processes. So it's not something that you just go and say, Yammer's now available, good luck, have at it. But you're going in and you're curating, you're moderating, you're advocating for usage of it and encouraging certain behaviors. But it's part of a plan. It's part of an overall strategy. So there's a lot of information that's out there. Actually, yes, my list goes to 11. Into the Yammer groups that your local or internal user groups are using. And if they're not using it, go and help them create those centralized Yammer groups so that you have this central point to collaborate around. Go and look at your industry-related groups. So I'm constantly looking at, in the industries in which we work, network and you and resources. On the methodology side, this is what Microsoft learned. A lot of this was led by what Microsoft learned internally about I'm a bit of a reader and a social nut, so there's some great resources. I almost said that other word. Some great resources out there on social and what it means and why these things are important, why they're having the effect that they are having on collaboration within our organizations. And at the bottom, there's some great articles specifically around influence, which are really important to understanding advocacy and evangelism inside or outside of the organization. I know that's a lot, and I, of course, at the end, I also point you over to my blog, and I've got 3 more articles that go through most of what I covered, but some other ideas of power user tips. But if you do have any questions, feel free to drop me a line. I will respond as quickly as possible. I'm actually headed over to Microsoft today to record some Microsoft Virtual Academy sessions, and we'll be doing one next week on Yammer administration. So going a bit more in-depth into the back end of what's happening with Yammer. So you'll be able to see that pretty soon as a free resource out on the Virtual Academy. And with that, Declan, do we have any questions that I can answer?
Perfect. Thanks, Christian, for a really enjoyable presentation. We have an absolute ton of questions here, so hopefully we can get through them. So here's one to start off, Christian. One of our concerns is governance and e-discovery. How would e-discovery / legal holds be done in Yammer?
Yeah, so that's a bigger question that there's not a full answer yet. I mean, one of the things that's happening through Office 365 is that Yammer, a couple things that are happening. So what has been made public is the conversation that Yammer will soon become a source for the search and the delve experience. So all of those kind of governance policies will be able to work across the Yammer platform. The other thing which I don't have any information out and it's so some of the ideas of what may happen are more in the rumor and speculation, will be the consolidation of the back end so that when you're saving content, adding content, creating notes, as well as your conversations, rather than be on a standalone database, content database, that they will be one and the same with SharePoint and OneDrive. So when you go and create a policy, when you're doing discovery from Office 365, it is drawing from all of the sources, all of the workloads across 365. We're not entirely there, so the capabilities are still fairly limited. So one of the ways that you manage that is through that manual governance of activities. When people are sharing documents, you go back in as an administrator and direct them to, instead of sharing a document, share a link to the SharePoint, the link to the document rather than the document itself. So you're pushing back people to where those artifacts can be better governed. I know it's not a full answer yet, but that's what we have today.
Perfect, Christian. But really interesting question here. We recently moved to Yammer. Do you know of a way to make a group called CEO's Corner, etc., where only the CEO is able to post topics, but everyone is allowed to reply and like?
It doesn't work like that. You can't, if you're posting comments, you can't lock it down in that way. And what you do is you delete them and you verbally slap people's hands until you train them on that. Yeah, unfortunately, there's no way to lock that down. Not yet today.
Okay. Next question, Christian. Is access for external parties dependent on Microsoft accounts?
Nope. I sent a link to my Gmail as an example. Wherever their email is, they can use that to go and log in and build a profile. It is outside of the need for that.
Okay, perfect. We have a question here regarding praise. Is praise always available to all? How do you structure or format the praise options? And can you monitor praise and see who has been praised across all groups?
So yes, there are some tools. I did get into the app side of that. There are some rudimentary analytics that you can do. There's other third-party analytics tools that do a better job of that. You're fairly limited with what you can modify with the praise tool. What I showed you there, I mean, you can change the icon. That's about it. And so some of the best practices for Yammer are to use a specific hashtag with a specific praise type. So then you can both track it, so you come up with a standard for putting that praise out there and train people on that, so that those things can be found. And if someone goes and creates praise and they forget the hashtag, you as a manager can always go back in as the feedback and add the hashtag to a reply to that praise, comment on that, so that in the search results that conversation will show up. If you're searching for all of the gold stars, for example, that you'll find them whether it's in the initial praise or in the conversation below it. But there are other third-party solutions that do a much better job of that on the SharePoint side. Yeah, I know I'm not really getting into some of those other options, but yeah, it's limited today. But I would go and look and see if there are any. I'm not familiar with any third-party apps. Not to say that there aren't, but there may be third-party apps where they've extended some of that capability through that app model.
Okay, perfect. We have time for just one more question, and this question is regarding interaction. So can you see how many people have viewed or interacted with items to monitor levels of interaction? Is there a level of interaction percentage maybe that you could follow?
Again, it's not very robust out of the box Yammer, but there are third-party tools that allow you to get that deeper insight, especially around group usage. So you'll be able to through these other third-party tools, and again, you can go and I'm not familiar with every free app that's available. Go up to the top right corner to the ellipses, go and look at the apps that are available. There's just rudimentary analytics that are available, but I am familiar with a couple third-party solutions. And feel free, if you're interested to know what those are, you can drop me an email, and I'm happy to share the links of those out. But that do go in and look very granular at what people are doing, where they're doing it, and allows you to measure and monitor that over time. Some really interesting stuff, which I have to believe that Microsoft is going to be expanding on that in the short term, because there's just a general lack of informatics around usage in Yammer today.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much again, Christian. That's all we have time for today. But for more top quality training from the world's best speakers, look no further than Stockholm for European SharePoint Conference 2015. The super early booking offer closes April 17, so grab a 3-day pass for the superb price of $9.95 while you can. Check sharepointeurope.com for more information. So thank you all again for joining us for today's webinar. Next up in our webinar series, we'll be joined by Andrea Villa on April 7th, who will be talking about information rights management in SharePoint. To register and find out more about this webinar, go to bit.ly/inforights. Goodbye for now, and I hope to see you all soon.